Hey girls, all right, so this is going to be a little video demo after the two objects, the pear and the lemon, are mapped out. I'm going to start now. I've got everything kind of mapped, and this is where the fun part starts. Now we've done all the hard part, now it's time for the fun part. I'm going to use this compressed charcoal stick, and if I look at the photo that we're drawing from, this side, the whole background is darker than both pieces of fruit, but really it's really darker on this side and kind of a medium dark on this side. So I'm taking that compressed charcoal and holding it under my hand. You know, I'm not holding it like a pencil, right? Darkening, and I'm not worried about the stem on the pear right now. That is something I will get back to. I am darkening behind. Now, when I'm darkening behind, I'm going to start getting extra dark. Sometimes I draw with my left hand when I'm doing demos. So you can see, okay. Carefully going around the contours. And over here, it's just going to start to get a lot darker. There's only so much darkness I'll be able to get on, because we're not drawing on charcoal paper. We're doing this on sketchbook paper, which is not, doesn't like charcoal that much. It'll only take a little bit and then it gives up. Fun part. Okay, it's darker. The background is darker than both pieces of fruit. But it's a little lighter on this side. Okay. Now, that's just fun to do. Okay. Now, the other thing that's really fun to do is I broke off a teeny weeny piece of my kneaded eraser. And squinting, I'm looking at both pieces of fruit and I'm squinting. The pear and the lemon, in value-wise, are not that different from each other. The center area of the pear right here, is like what we call a mid-tone, which is kind of what the paper is currently. And then for here, it's lighter. So to get that lighter value, I'm taking the kneaded eraser and I'm erasing out. Where I want to be really light, pushing out, pushing a little harder. And if I get rid of too much, I'm like, oh no, shouldn't have gotten rid of that. I wanted that tone back, just put it back in using the vine. Erased out too much right here, so all I have to do is put it right back in. And then to get the dark over on this side, let's see what happens if I try the pencil. And I feel like I made it too dark back here, so I'm going to lift. Let's see if I can lift a little back off right here, because on this side the pear is actually squinting. This is a long, narrow shape, and I'm trying not to make it look like a line. Trying to think about shapes instead of lines. This poor kneaded eraser has seen happier days. This looks a little sloppy now. I will refine it. Now, most of the lemon's pretty light. Squinting, especially the top area is really light. Gets into kind of a mid-tone in the middle. I'm erasing out, but I'm putting very little pressure here just to lift off a little bit. Really, really light here. So to get this highlight, I'm going to push hard. Little reflected light down at the bottom. One thing that's really fun to do, I'm going to do right now, is erase out the foreground, because the foreground's mostly very light. I'm going to leave a little bit of a shadow right there. Right where the pear, right at this corner, if you'll notice in the photograph, you almost can't see where the pear ends and the table begins. So I can either go back and add that detail in a minute, or maybe I don't. I'm okay with things kind of disappearing. Now I'm thinking about I'm leaving that dark shape right there because that's where the shadow is. So I'm going around it. So a little bit of a shadow. You know, and it starts to look a little bit three-dimensional. One of the darkest places in the drawing is right down under here. A little bit. I haven't finished. And then Mr. Stem. I'm using a pencil to keep my hand from getting into the charcoal. Trick to the stem, I think, is don't overdo the stem. Most of it, I have a little, most of it's going to be erased out. And that's probably kind of enough. So that's the idea